And they are finally back, folks. Last week, we finally got to see another Illuvium showcase. Tons of leaks, tons of fun. Now, time has gone away from me recently, so I combined some of my favorites from last week and this week, as well as threw in a couple of rogue leaks for all of you. So let's just start with this gem here, and I'm going to play the whole thing for you because I honestly really appreciate this.
We're too busy winning awards. Award-winning video games that haven't even been released yet. Here it is.
Don't show me that award ever again. Don't show me that award ever again.
Best lore. I wish my acceptance speech would have been on the live stream. I apologized to Aaron, and I said, I know you tried to keep the lore a secret, but we won an award for it anyway. Hey, the Gamer's Choice Awards.
That's gotta be a troll.
And thank you so much, Andrew, for being real about this award and the nature of it. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Web3 gaming and Illuvium, but I was a bit miffed about an award show for a bunch of games where most of them aren't out or are only in beta format and not open to general public. That being said, this was the first one. You got to start somewhere, right? So hats off to Web3 gaming for getting the ball rolling. I'll be a little more interested to see what happens next year. Next, we got introduced to a handful of these video NFTs. Something that I was unaware of is if you're on the Illuvidex, you'll have this lovely video when you look at your collection. If you take it off the marketplace and sell it elsewhere like OpenSea, you'll just have the raw artwork itself. You won't have these nice animations or the sounds that go with them. They also continued to share some Lynx work, which I'm excited for. These are gorgeous creatures and definitely help hit that EV vibe for me. One thing I'm not a huge fan of on the Hydrolinks here is when he shifts his head, these markings that appear as teardrops, okay, a tad emo for me personally. Now on Goliath here, if you take a look at an early render, you can see the color has shifted from gray to black and that undercolor has brightened to kind of a brighter blue. Personally, I prefer the previous look. This one has a bit more of a warrior vibe, which is fine, but it also looks a bit more fake to me. More like armor or leather, whereas previously it kind of came across as stone. So, yeah, take what you will. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Originally, when Illuvium started, they were aiming to have the games out within like a year and a half. But as the scope evolved, so too did their timeline. Are they taking longer to deliver the product? Absolutely. But honestly, if it wasn't for us being in the crypto space, I don't think your average gamer would have batted an eye at this. If anything, they would have scoffed at the idea of a AAA game of this magnitude being delivered in such a short time frame. What's really amazing and what will become more clear in the future is exactly how much work they're front loading. Grant mentions how they're doing all this extra work now, perfecting it, so that when the time comes for animes or comics or future games, the assets are already done. You drag, you drop, you adjust some minor aspects. Illuvium's long-term thinking here is really, bottom line, what has me bullish on the company as a whole. Now, for a lot of these NFT videos that we're looking at, the sound isn't there. The fact that there is going to be sound is frankly kind of interesting to me. Inside the game, sure, but on the Illuvidex, like, I'm not quite sure how that would work. Would you just have a cacophony of sound when you're scrolling through your NFTs? Would it only occur if you click into a specific one? Honestly, however they do it, I hope there's an easy way to turn it off, because honestly, by the 10th, by the 12th time that you hear it and you're just trying to look at your collection, I'm going to be looking for the mute button. You know, it's also funny here because for everyone playing the game in beta right now, it is so easy to forget that we're only playing with half the deck. Half of the potential Illuvials in set 1. And as excited as I am to play with the other Illuvials, I mean, I'm equally excited for set 2 because there's not enough toxic for my team. So far, there are only 2 options for toxic, 3 if you make your ranger toxic, but that's not enough to get me to the 4 bonus of getting 50% max health as energy damage. So I kind of have a feeling that the next toxic Illuvials will probably include, I mean, if they don't make the spider toxic, that's surprising. But we have that spider Illuvial coming up in some future set. Now, this is one of the only sets where I love stage 1 and I hate all the others. No, the collector and me will still acquire one of each of the others, but honestly, that will probably be it. Unless I have crap stats, because who's going to live with an alluvial that has crap stats? Like, I mean, really, would you? Now I'm just going to drop this in for you.
So, like, the amount of work into this collection, I cannot wait until all of them are there. 205 to complete the entire deck with the mystery alluvial that hasn't been revealed.
Now let's rehear that. 205 alluvials plus the mystery alluvial. Now, okay, the mystery alluvial is hardly revolutionary. We all kind of knew it was there, but a confirmation is a confirmation. And it's much better than the vague answer I got from Ben a couple months back in my interview with him and Kieran. What I'm curious about is if it's going to be kind of following this Leviathan pattern that we see, or, you know, if it's going to be something more like this, kind of dragon-like. People have been complaining that we don't see enough dragons. I need a dragon. Give me more dragons. You know, then we dropped into some of the video leaks here. This is another alluvial that everyone's excited for, but no one's been able to play with yet. And so, again, it's easy to forget. Squiz is one of the only alluvials that begins with a composite affinity rather than one of the base affinities. So he starts as shock and keeps that affinity all the way through stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Shocking, I know. Oh, lordy. I was never excited for, like, the Atlas plushie. Like, he looks cute, but Kuka. Giving me, like, huge Moana Heihei vibes. And this is adorable. Like, yes, I like the cuties. This is a cutie. I need that. Shelf right there. You know, then they started dropping some of these really epic. I always love when they drop these region leaks. And these are nice, but nothing compares to the Abyssal Basin video that Grant gave us at the flyover. You know, and they're always talking about how big, how massive these regions are. Honestly, these regions, they're big, but they don't come across as massive. And maybe I'm just jaded because I've been playing Crimson Waste so much. Now, while the region is not exactly massive, when you piece together all the different regions in terms of playable space, that is massive. But having to go into different regions separately as opposed to a game like, I think Ashes of Creation has just one giant map and you can go from one point to the others without having to like leave one section to enter another. It just gives off a completely different vibe. Both huge map wise, but again, if you have to leave the experience to go to a different region versus just being able to walk across the border. One of the things I think I was originally kind of excited at the possibility for was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to travel from Taiga Boreal down to Abyssal Basin? Now, not a possibility in this game. I try to remind myself that the playable space that we're actually playing on is not that entire region that you see on the map. What we're actually playing on, whether it's in Taiga Boreal or Crimson Waste, is like a little circle. Because the rest of that space is Illuvium 0. You know, you're inhabiting it, you're farming it, you're building up your city, and then you go to these kind of sectioned off areas to go hunting for your alluvials. And we're not quite sure how, but there's a bit of time travel, time warping, singularities that you're entering to go in and catch your alluvials and do your harvesting. I wasn't previously excited for Brightland Steps or Abyssal Basin, honestly, but I am. The bubbles are cool. My bubbles. Here they're giving us some examples of the bubble effects, being able to ride them up and use them to travel. I'm kind of curious if that actually will save time. It kind of depends how slow or fast they are. Now, I feel like I'm saying this a lot in this particular video. Not a super big fan of this particular line. And it probably just boils down to it's not cute enough for me. It's got some really cool attacks. Like, if you watch here, the fact that they've added in the little detail during his water attack that there's that rainbow, killer. The details they put into everything, whether I like the alluvial or not, like, you gotta admit that's AAA. That's just insane. You know, and here in this week's showcase, they were showing the plants getting their upgrades. And one of the big things I've been excited about is eventually the idea of plants either attacking you or you have to attack them in order to harvest them. And this kind of gives us our first look at what that animation might include. Again, very much a work in progress, but it's coming along. One thing that I think everybody is excited for, that no one has seen in beta. I hope we don't see it in beta because it would be a cry-worthy moment. Hollow and Dark Hollows. And this here is an example of what a hollow and a dark hollow will look like in the game. Now, they mentioned in this showcase that there's going to be this continual transition between regular and hollow or dark hollow, whatever you have, so that when you're playing PvP or something like that, there's not any confusion in terms of like with the lynxes, right? There's very small details that tell you this is a Bulwark stage 2 lynx, or this is a Scion stage 2 lynx. If you only had it in like a black dark hollow, it might be hard to distinguish A from B. Here we got the penguins doing a little Super Saiyan action. Oh, and then of course you got the little stage 1 penguin. I call him Pudge personally. Kind of reminds me of that character from the movie Cats Don't Dance. Gonna age myself here. All right, and now if you ever needed non-financial advice, here it is. Do not skimp out on dipping your toes in on any Illuvium product, if only for the reason that these are ever evolving. Even after something goes live, it will evolve. It will continue to get more utility, more function. Illuvitar started as just a PFP project. It evolved into a competitive collection game. And then even now, there are talks behind the scenes of a possible trading card game in the future using these. If you're here now, you do not want to be left with, oh, I wish I would have when I had the chance. Because now is your chance. Not financial advice, but life advice. If you like Illuvium, even just a toe. They got showing off some of these emojis here. Not sure yet if these are going to be NFTs or account bounds, but they look pretty epic. They're fun to kind of shoot through. Of course, this promo art was done by Sophia. I freaking love her style. And I mean, just look at these other art pieces by her. This image right here is why I love Sanahi so much. So, Sophia, thank you. Thank you for all you do because, I don't know, I like this art style. These right here. And these apparently be harvestable in the overworld. They're going to serve a purpose in Illuvium 0. They had mentioned something about these acting as compost for a building. Honestly, who knows? But what's exciting is the team is continuing to find ways to weave all the different games together, to be like interconnected from every angle. This way, the connection is going to go both ways, because previously, Illuvium 0 makes the fuel, overworld people buy the fuel, so you kind of have a one direction there. But here, the overworld people can now collect something to sell back to Illuvium 0 landowners, and now you've got that double action going on. You know what's funny? When the showcase started and was happening every week, I kind of griped about how there wasn't leaks in the Discord anymore. Not being able to experience like the random drops you don't know what you're going to see day to day. But now, after it's been gone for a while, and being able to experience it again, I realized just how much I appreciate these compilations. Anyways, thanks for chilling with me as we reviewed the last showcases. For the full versions, visit the links in the description below. Be warned, complete like together, it's 3 hours. I'll see you on the flip side.